the program this morning, we'll look at the reasons Igbos attacked the enemies of the country and other political activities that played out at the time. Welcome once again. My name is Ginika Oloha. Now, joining me virtually to discuss this is someone who he has been around. In fact, he participated in all the political activities leading to the June 12, 1993 election. Talking about the former PDP chairman in Abia State, Senator Imawaka. He joins me virtually this morning. Good morning, Senator. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Welcome. Now, as someone who actually participated actively in the electoral process leading to June 12, did you foresee any form of deceit from the military to hand over to civilians, or were they sincere in their actions? You saw what played out last week, where former military president IBB railed out what happened during the time. In fact, at some point, he pushed the blame to Sani Abacha. Maybe you can just give us a little background of what led to the aborted 1993 presidential election in the country.
Thank you. My personal perspective is that the military were not minded to really hand over power to civilians. Take our election, for instance, the National Assembly. The election into the National Assembly took place on the 4th of July, 1992. And we were not sworn in until December 5th, 1992. In fact, the military, imagine the military, they set up what they call Center for Democratic Studies, where they took us to, it was in Buhari, where you'll have the law school now.
Okay.
To teach us how to make laws and all that. And some of us are lawyers, like I'm a lawyer. And then, you know, after that, they found another excuse to send us to see other parts of Nigeria. I know that I led the Abia delegation to through Makurdi, where we looked at the cement industry under Senator Jemade then. He was the general manager of Benue Cement. From there, they took us to Bauchi, all just to waste time. In fact, it was at the launch of this sensational book on the 20th of this month that I found out that he was the incumbent president of Nigeria, who I had the privilege of sitting with in the Senate, Senator Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, who prodded the president to swear us in on the arrangement for our accommodation. There was no National Assembly, and this was a process, a political process that took about 2-3 years to midwife. They were not ready for the National Assembly at all. Rather, they took us and housed us at Hilton Hotel, and for our sitting, we were sitting as the International Conference Center. It was just, you just found out they were not ready at all. They were not ready.
So, as a National Assembly members, you never sat all through the time after you were elected. You're not even inaugurated. Is that what you're saying?
No. What I'm saying is that we were inaugurated on the 5th of July of December, 1992. And started sitting because there was no National Assembly building complex. We were sitting at the International Conference Center, Abuja. And then we made some of us who knew why we were there, make sure that we had no interaction with the military. In fact, I remember when Babangida came to present his budget, I think it was for 1993 or so, we boycotted it, because that we thought that would be lending legitimacy and credence to what he was to the budget and then his administration. They were not ready to go at all. And then we had the best election a person can talk about, during that period. It was option A4. You stood there in front. If you are not there, your photograph will be held by your representatives. And then the thing will be counted there and then and results declared. There will no ballot box touching. No person was injured all through that period. There were no armored cars on. Nigerians were really prepared to have a democratic government. But it's unfortunate that the people who started the game also botched it. And when it became obvious, when we were in the National Assembly, I was one of the youngest. I was 34 at the time. In fact, the very youngest is my good friend, Lieli Moke. I'm older than him by 1-2 years. We were the youngest. But I was privileged to be among those selected to meet Shoneko, who was heading the interim government. We had gone to, I think, to New York to be at the national, at one of these general assembly. A few of us were selected to meet him. We went to him at Aguda House where he was living and said, there's rumor in the air that Abacha is ready to take over, was ready to take over from you. You know, his nonchalance put me off. In fact, he even told us that in the Aguda House, where we call his official residence, that he didn't even know how many rooms were there. And all of us were seeing it. Abacha, in fact, when Babangida was going, he left Abacha behind as Minister of Defense. I think he also doubled as Chief of Defense Staff. You know, his convoy when he's moving, in fact, he was the de facto president of Nigeria. And then Shoneko, when he's moving, how many cars? You can count them. So when we met with Shoneko that night, I cannot forget it. We said, Mr. President, interim president, though, say that you can sack Abacha. Let us conclude this process and have Abiola sworn in. Even Tofa, I was of NRC, and Abiola was SDP. So when the results came in, I think it was on the night of 13 June 1993, if my memory is correct, that we went to meet Tofa in his diplomatic suit in Hilton.
Okay.
He accepted defeat. He accepted it in good faith. So why did he have to cancel it with all sorts of reasons? If you knew that Abiola wasn't suitable to run, why didn't you stop him? After all, they have stopped people like Chiroma and a whole lot of other people. Why didn't they stop him from running? Only for him to run one across, and that was a Muslim ticket. He ran with King Gibbet.
Yeah.
They won, hands down. Tofa, our presidential candidate, we all agreed that he won. And we were waiting for him to be sworn in. Well, after our meeting with Shoneko at Aguda House, we all returned to look at the distance. The decision we took was that we would not be participating in anything the military was heading. And it was like that. At some point, when they knew they were about to, and that we might be a problem for them, what did they do? They called some of us who were close to the military to say that they will, even if there was a coup, that they will leave other democratic structures, including the National Assembly, governors who were already in place, and the houses of assembly, that they won't touch that. That their sore point was with the presidential election. We sat and waiting for what they do. Only for Abacha on November 17, November 1993, to come on air to say all democratic structures dissolved. I remember we were in a meeting at Hilton with Don Etiebet, who was a minister for petroleum also, having a meeting on what to do with the petroleum sector. When the news came, every person scampered to safety. I remember one of my friends, Senator Kuta, from now late, may his soul rest in peace, from Niger State, very slim guy. He dressed like a woman to exit Hilton. It was a favorite person, ran. Me, I remember that night, I had to sleep in the house of a friend outside there. I just took my few things, because how can you keep me in a hotel and I'll bring my family? So it was easy for me to pick my few belongings and slept in town. On the 18th, yes, that's Friday. It was on a Friday, yes. I got home. The most painful thing that happened to me was that 2 days after my father died, you know, so it was double jeopardy.
Yeah.
Every person knows what it feels like to run an election and win at that young age.
Yeah.
I knew what my plans were. It wasn't about making money, it was about impacting.
Yeah. But
unfortunately, it went the way it did. So the long and short of it from me is that they never knew that Humphrey Nwosu would do the magic he did by conducting a very credible, free and fair election, the best we have had in this country. I squared it off with Ajanwachuku. So that time, part of Ebonyi was in Abia. I squared it off with Ajanwachuku, and he lost to me. He didn't go to court. There was no case, no court action anywhere. Not these days where the judiciary has taken over the job of INEC, announcing results left, right, and center, even in the primaries. It is a shame, but that is where we are today. Okay. So instead of looking back and blaming Babangida left, right, and center, let us ask ourselves, where are we today? Are we any better? Is our democracy where it's supposed to be?
Okay, now considering the enormous resources that must have gone into the preparation of that 1993 election, some of the key actors are very much, and one of them is the IBB. He's very much alive. Yes, last week he launched his book and all that. You saw billions of naira that was actually generated during that book launch. Now the question is, with such development and what played out in Abuja during the book launch, is that what we should be celebrating, considering the fact that these people worked against the progress of the country? Are they supposed to be tried or prosecuted or be celebrated, Senator?
Well, you see, like I said, let us not keep if God intended that we should have eyes at the back of our heads, he would have done that. But that is not to say that history is not important. History is very important to the extent that it helps you to navigate today and tomorrow. To be candid with you, you know, Nigeria, we're a capitalist country. In fact, if there's one man who made us really capitalist, it was IBB who opened up the economy of Nigeria. Let's be fair to him in that regard. That you have many banks today, that you have private airlines, that you have billionaires left, right, and center. Well, there is their money. I don't know that any person is saying that Dangote stole money from him and that was part of the money he gave to IBB, or that the owner of Bua Cement stole money from him, or Ateze. In fact, when he was his turn in his usual way, he told us that IBB made him. So he has every reason to be grateful to IBB. What we should be talking about is, do these people pay taxes commensurate to the amount of money they have and they are donating? So this is the time for Federal Inland Revenue to get up and look at their books and know whether they are paying taxes commensurate. You know, what they did is personal to them. It's not that they opened the central bank to bring out the money. It's their personal money. So was no. So they did what they liked with their money. There's nothing any person can do. It's natural to be grateful to a man who really helped you.
Okay.
And they all agreed that Babangida during his time helped them. So why wouldn't they return this thing?
Okay, so what I'm even concerned about is that now looking at the anomalies we see in our present electoral process, you know, from INEC to the judiciary to the political parties, you know, everything is just messed up. Exactly. You know, if the military could conduct, you know, from what you said, a credible election, and we have civilians in place now who are struggling so hard to conduct a credible electoral process in the country, what should be our focus at this point? 2023, we saw so many anomalies in that process. Now, up to this moment, nobody is talking about electoral reforms ahead of 2027. Because if those that botched, the 1993 election are being celebrated like this, I mean, the people that will conduct the 2027 election can as well do anything they want. After all, nobody will prosecute them. Senator.
And they will, unless something was done. We're in a country where ignorance is bliss. And then we have those in authority. They have weaponized poverty. Our people in politics, we have this saying that political largesse has an expiring date. Our people, when they sing, will tell you that what does he give to you? A pittance from your money he has stolen. I went to the Senate, actually, I had no money. It was not because I was rich. I'll say it for myself. It's my integrity, my character. And then I'm a humble person up till tomorrow. Those are the things the elders at the time looked at. People like Chief Emmanuel Iwanyanwu, Chief Sabe Jimofo, my good late John Okam, and even the incumbent governor, Ogunnayon. Those are the things they looked at. The elders will come together and say, who are we going to send? Who are we going to send? What is his pedigree? But that doesn't happen anymore. What do you have? In churches, non-thieves are given awards. Chieftaincy titles are given to thieves. That's why today I don't even have a chieftaincy title. Even though at some point I was commissioner for local government and chieftaincy affairs. I don't. The essence in Abia, they know it's not out of disrespect to any of them. But I don't want any of those things. In fact, if you meet me on the way and call me Imanwaka, I'm more at home with that. But if you call me Senator Waka, I knew that I fought for that. Or you call me Barrister Waka, I knew I worked for that. But all these other titles, I don't need them. I don't. But you see that people who have no character are invited and they're given all sorts of awards. No, you see, we cannot make progress that way. We say that democracy is about the people. But these people allow themselves to be hoodwinked easily. How can we make progress? How can we? When tickets are to the highest bidder or to the man who has all sorts of thugs and the rest of them? Ask them. When I was a chairman of PDP for 5 years, I brought civility into politics. I ran the party as if I gave every person a chance to be what they are supposed to be. No bribes, nothing. But people like us are not needed because they know what we could do. What is money? What are material things? We need to change society. And that is when the people can shun money, shun little bribes people give to them. And then we have to do something about the economy to make it inclusive. So that every person, no matter how small, has enough to eat, can take care of his health, education of his children, and all that. But when that is not happening, a man just comes in his pocket and gives you 200,000 naira. You expect the person to vote against him tomorrow. So that's where we should concentrate our efforts. Not what has happened yesterday. Yesterday has gone.
Okay, so Senator, as we have it today, you've actually spoken at the level of what's going on at the political parties and all that. But what about the judiciary? That's where you belong. I mean, they said that the judiciary will always corroborate whatever thing that INEC must have done at the polling unit. Is there any need for the judiciary to be reformed? Yes.
I'm a lawyer with about 40-something years, but I have to tell you that the process of selection of judges, we are not getting it right. You have a situation where governors now decide who becomes a high court judge. I'm not even sure that the Bar Association plays any role. We all at the bar, we know ourselves. So when it comes to picking us to say this and you should go to the bench, we don't play any role. So when just like in politics, somebody is your godfather because he bankrolled your election, and somebody is your godfather because he made you a judge, and the case concerning him on somebody he's interested in comes before your court, you find yourself bending the rules to accommodate him. That is where we are. There are so many things we have to clean up, but no person is talking about that. Rather, we are more interested in crying over spilled milk.
Now, at the level of INEC, what should also be done at that level, from the appointment of the INEC chairman to the commissioners, and what happens, at the polling unit, where politicians like yourself will always want to induce those electoral officers,
No, but technology has made things very easy. We refuse to adopt technology to solve our problems in the electoral process, just because we have at the back of our mind that we want to rig the election. Otherwise, what is the problem? Like I said during my election, it was option A4. Elections, the thing is tabulated, everything, every person has the results in his hand. Why have a collation center? And that is where all this rubbish go on. When results come in, you take it to a collation center. Where the military, the police, Air Force, all of them will take over the place. Already they have their instructions who they favor. It's at the collection center that they do all this nonsense. Why don't we use technology and upload results so that every person will see it at the same time? But in today's world, where snakes eat money and all that kind of rubbish, they will tell you there was a glitch and we stopped uploading, and we believe it. We believe it.
All right. I think we should leave it at that. Let me sincerely thank you, former PDP Abia State Chairman and Senator. They say once a senator is a senator for life. Senator.
I value it. Thank you very much.
Senator Mawaka, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right. Okay, we'll take a breather now. When we come back, we'll switch over to another leg of this discussion, and that will be where it affects the Igbo man. You heard what IBB said during that book launch, that Igbos should not be blamed for the 1966 coup that actually brought Johnson Umona Agui-Runsi into power. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to the program. It's still the platform, the pinnacle of all discussion, and we are looking at the June 12th and the book launch of IBB over that was last week in Abuja, and this time around we'll look at how it affects Igbos, and what the former military ruler said about that particular book. Now, joining me virtually also to talk about this is the former spokesperson of Ohaneze Ndigbo, Chief Chuks Igwebu. He joins me virtually this morning. Good morning, Chief. Thank you so much for
good morning, my brother.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to get your take on that particular. I'm sure you've been following development, the IBB book launch in Abuja, and some of the matters rising from that particular event. What is your take about the 1966 coup that was tagged an Igbo coup across Nigeria, which breeds some kind of hate for the Igbos even up to this moment? Chief.
Thank you very much. It is a very welcome development. What the book by Ibrahim Babangida, of course, Babangida was an active participant in what happened in those dark days. So he spoke from experience, and over the years, many people of history, historical analysts have made it very clear that what happened on January 15, 1966 was not an ethnic affair.
Yeah.
The country was in an abyss. The post-independent Nigerian leaders, less than 7 years or 6 years after independence, did not put their acts together. And a group of young military people of diverse ethnicity, composed of all sections of Nigeria, decided to effect a change. And they did effect a change. though it didn't succeed. And suddenly, some people profiled it as an ethnic affair. And for that reason, the country went into chaos. That finally led to a civil war in which 3 million people were lost. 3 million Igbos were lost. And the colossal loss in property. So for more than, since that time, the cliché, the profiling has continued, with its other consequences, political denials, economic strangulation, and so on and so forth. Since that time, 15 January. And then on July 29th, 1966, a counter coup occurred in which more than 30,000 to 50,000 Igbos were massacred, and more than 500 military officers of Igbo extraction. And then they tagged it the January coup. That was a kind of revenge coup, and that has the narrative has been there, despite all effort to disprove. The narrative has been there, but thank God enough. God knows the way it does his things. Today, General Ibrahim Babangida, former military president, who was a key actor in that era, has come out to make it very clear that it was not an Igbo coup. So that is the way God works. Thank you.
Now, since he has made that statement, I think by now we should start the process of national healing, probably looking the way of Southeast, with all the hate being spewed against the people from the southeastern part of the country. I mean, there should be some kind of remedy. How can they remedy the situation? I'm sure it's because of all this hate. Maybe we have 5 states in the Southeast and 6 in some other states. Maybe they should start from that and remove this issue of these people are Biafrans and they don't believe in Nigeria and all that. Maybe start thinking towards how can we bring them into the national governance where appointments can also be offered to these same people. Critical appointment, Chief.
You are completely in order. Like I told you, the consequence, that profiling of the January 15, 1966 coup has been a thorn in the flesh of our people. Most of the policies, both post-war policy and the other policies that you've mentioned, like the structural marginalization. You see, immediately after the war, most part of mineral-rich parts of Igbo land were excised out of efforts were made to landlock the Igbos, cut us off from the sea and create hatred among our neighbors and so on and so forth. It's been a policy. Initially, it was, in the past, it was very, very critical, very, very obvious. But with time, after the Gowon's 3 arrows and so on and so forth, the thing, started coming down, started ameliorating. But it's still there. Like you have said it, we have 5 states, 95 local governments. Politically, we've not been politically properly given the opportunity to be where we are supposed to be. And the nation is suffering. The entire nation is suffering for that. Poor governance at the center and so on and so forth. So I think with this revolution, well, I won't call it revolution because we all know, everybody knows. Everybody knows that it was not an Igbo coup. So there should now be a proper national healing. You see, the time Oputa panel could not do much, just was testimonial. It was not implemented, Oputa decision, because these things were, discussed at Oputa panel.
Yes.
But with this high-profile revelation, I think it's high time Nigerian stakeholders, political stakeholders, religious stakeholders, and so on and so forth, social stakeholders, traditional stakeholders should come together now and say, look, let us heal this country from these past wounds. Because the wounds are there. Forget about the fact that, yes, over these years, Igbos have come up. economically and so on and so forth. But the wounds are there. There is no family that did not that didn't bear the brunt. You know, my own family bore the brunt. So on and so forth. So now, with this revolution, there should be a national healing, a proper national healing, and apologies, and compensations and reparations. For instance, in Asaba, the more than 2,000 innocent young men and women were massacred on 7th of October, 1967. And in different parts of Igbo land, there were genocide here and there. The Russian, Egyptian pilots committed genocide everywhere. The markets people were massacred, in churches and so on and so forth. You see, you can easily forgive, but you cannot forget. So I'm happy. So it's now challenge to Nigerian authorities to not actually to open the wounds of the past, but to really go for national healing. And national healing, justice without forgiveness without justice does not amount to. The wounds are still there. So I think you are another. There should now be a very immediate step for proper national healing.
Okay, so coming back home, is there anything Igbos on their own can do to remedy the situation as well? Yes, they may be expecting one or two things if you're talking about national healing from the center, but on their own, is there anything they can do? Probably coming together, like they will always say that Igbos are not always together. Maybe they could start from there and maybe push it to the national level. What do you think, Chief?
Yes, there is this cliche that Igbos do not speak with one voice. Yes, we have to realize one thing. Before the war, the Igbo Union was like a government. The Igbo spoke with one voice. They established schools all over in Kano, Kaduna. In fact, many non-Igbos who held positions in the past were a product of Igbo schools in all over the country. At that time, you see, we were at the helm of affairs everywhere, and the war came with its devastation. People lost everything after the war. 20 pounds policy, indigenization, and so on and so forth. So definitely, the center could not hold again. The survival battle, struggle for individual survival came in with post-war calamities, and post-war challenges. So it was everybody to his own, and that is what has brought us to this situation we find ourselves today. We don't speak with one voice. It wasn't like that. I think the Igbos were a group that loved themselves. They helped each other. Onyagala 1 year was our symbol, apprenticeship system, and so on and so forth. But over the years, due to complete neglect and inequality, injustice everywhere, we developed one kind of extreme individualism, which is affecting us today. Our politicians became so selfish. It's just what will enter your pocket. It became so terrible in Igbo land till today. So I think with what Babangida said, it's a great challenge to Igbo leaders, political leaders, social leaders, traditional leaders, that we have to go back to the root, what Igbo society used to be in the past, Onyagala 1 year syndrome. And again, I expect Ohanese leadership. Good enough, we now have a President General of Ohanese from River State. You see, at a point, they cut off River State. They cut off Mbamiri from us. Mbamiri, you see, the Willing Commission of 1957 or 58 made it very clear that Port Harcourt is an Igbo city. From Okreka down to Obibo and all this and all that. They are all Igbo city. A lot of Igbo territory were carved out to Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Cross Rivers on. In the northern part, a lot went to Benue, a lot went to Kogi. We were completely, bastardized. So it's now a challenge to Ohanese leadership to come have a pan-Igbo conference, not to estrange the rest of the country. No, a pan-Igbo conference, pan-Igbo unity conference, where we will now come together and chart a course and make sure that we have internal harmony again. We have the spirit of Onyagara is restored. And then we build bridges too, because Igbos are pan-Nigerian. You see, when people say Igbos are secessionists and this, and I laugh, because we are the greatest pan-Nigerians. Look at our history. Look at our history. Our people, our politicians, our statesmen fought for independence of Nigeria. The Azikiwes, the Mbadiwes, and so on and so forth. We fought for Nigeria independence. We believe in Nigeria. Even the coup they are talking about, they are saying it was Igbo coup. Who stopped it? It was Igbo officers that stopped the coup of January. General Aguironsi stopped it. Ojukwu and Kanu stopped it. General Brigadier Nwawo, Madiebo, all of them, they were the people that stopped that coup. So how can it be an Igbo coup when the people that stopped it were Igbo military officers? So it was just the British imperialists at that time who were not comfortable with the rise of the Igbos, and some politicians, that were displaced from their political positions in the north. Then they incited the general public. It was not the ordinary people in the north, the Talakawas. No, it was these political misfits and British imperialists then that created that wave of incitement that led to the pogrom, which more than 100,000 Igbos were killed in the north. So I think it's a very big challenge to Ohaneze, Igbo leadership, and our political leadership, and our religious and traditional leadership. Thank you.
All right. Let me sincerely thank you. Former spokesperson of Ohaneze and Igbo Chief Chuks Ibebu. Thank you so much for insight this morning on the platform. Do appreciate you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.